guys, it's Kristen with Simply a Stewart, and I am back today with a book haul, and this book haul is huge. We went recently to the convention center in our area, and the Half Price Books was having like their big blowout. I don't know, it was like a $2 clearance type event wherever they were getting rid of their overstock and their inventory that hadn't sold. And so this was the first time I had ever gone, and I was super excited. I had heard about it. I've had it on my calendar for like a month, and my husband ended up taking the day off, and we took our kids to the science center. So I only had a little bit of time to go, but I wanted to make sure I got there, and so I did, and wow, was I surprised at the sheer volume of books there were. So I only went through like the kid, young reader type books. I didn't have time to look at anything else. Like I said, I was really strapped for time, but I did get a lot of great stuff, and I wanted to share that stuff with you guys. So grab a cup of coffee or your water bottle. I have mine. I'll probably need it because I'm going to share with you guys quite a haul. This may go in two hauls. Just depends on how long this video gets. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you guys some of the stuff that we picked up. So one of the first things that we found, well, I shouldn't say the first things we found, but some of the things that we got were these, I don't know, they're like biographies. I think some of them are actually biographies, and I think some of them are historical fiction. But this first series is called The Royal Diaries. The only one we picked up was Elizabeth I. But my daughter had found these actually at Half Price Books the last time we went. We've never seen this series, and she really wanted to give them a try. She does like history a lot, and the ones I'm going to show you in a second, she's read a lot of, and so she wanted to try these ones out. And so it's a fairly thick book. She is in just going into 5th grade, to give you an idea of the reading level, but she's been reading these for about a year or so, and she really enjoyed them. So we picked up this one, and then there are two series. Apparently these are from the 90s. I'm a 90s kid. I did not know these even existed, but they are Dear America, and one of them is, I guess, just Dear America, and the other one's Dear America, My Name Is. And the difference is that the Dear America is all girls from history, and the Dear America, My Name Is America are all boys from history. And so these are more like historical fiction. They are based on a child that would have grown up in that time period. So this is from a little girl. This is a little girl from the Oregon Trail. And then this one's from the Civil War. And this one is from, she's an Irish mill girl. And so my daughter's read a lot of these over the past year. I had never heard of them before that, and we just came across one randomly at a sale, and she picked it up, and she really enjoyed it. So we have been in search of these, and you can't find them. Like, we went to Barnes & Noble. I like to go there. Homeschool mom tip. I like to go there and let my kids look through like all the series and the different books, especially like the Who Was books, because they like those. And I'll scan the barcodes in, and then I'll keep them on a wish list for like thrift books or Amazon for Christmas or eBay, those types of things, and try and find them a little bit cheaper. So we were doing that, and I had asked about these, and they don't carry them in store, and that's when I found out that they were a series from the 90s. So if you want to find books like these, things like eBay or Half Price Books are the only place that you're probably going to find them. But then they do have a boys series about boys, and this is a World War II soldier, and he's from the Marines from Vietnam. And this one was a black cowboy from the, I'm not even sure I'm saying this right, Christome Trail. So but those are a really cool series, both of all of those, I guess. So if you have a child who's into historical fiction at all, those are really neat. My kids are very big history buffs. We are not. If you followed and watched my recent homeschool curriculum hauls, I mentioned how we really like history and we'd like to delve into it. Not as much as we do, science isn't as much our thing. So we also found this Secrets of Alcatraz. And then I found another series. I had never seen this series, but it's by Scholastic, and it's In Their Own Words. which makes it sound like it's an autobiography, but it's not, I guess. No, they're written by George Sullivan. Yeah, no, I hadn't ever seen these before, and I really picked them up and handed them to my daughter and said, what do you think about these? And she put them in the cart. So, but it's a whole series, and my kids really like the Who Was series, so I thought these would be neat. And this is Helen Keller, Thomas Edison, Betsy Ross, which I have not seen this in the Who Was. Some of these they have Who Was books currently, and some of them they do not. Sojourner Truth, and the Wright brothers. So we picked those up. We don't typically order from Scholastic. I know they said that a lot of moms I've seen have said that you can like sign up for Scholastic, but I just personally have not done that. So this one is Liberty's Children, and it is stories of 11 Revolutionary War children. So these are actual children, okay, here, the back says, sometimes the war's greatest heroes are its survivors and those who manage to forge new lives despite the tragedies they have experienced. History books usually do not describe how a 9-year-old boy from Massachusetts might have felt when his friend was killed in the Boston Massacre, or what went through the mind of a teenage Quaker girl when her family fled Philadelphia. Children like these found themselves on the edge of the fray, both in combat and in the throes of daily life, helping or simply enduring as best their interrupted youths allowed. Their behind-the-scenes stories illustrate what it was really like for children during the Revolutionary War. So this was about children who grew up during that time period and how they felt going through all those things. And I thought that was really good. One, because, like I said, we're history buffs. I thought my daughter would really enjoy that. But two, kids nowadays are going through a lot of these crisis scenarios, and we're lucky that being homeschooled, they're not in the school situation of having to like be prepared for active shooters and all of those types of things. But just echoing the things that have happened recently, El Paso and, those things, it can happen anywhere, happening in a Walmart. And so just how knowing those traumas are going on and how to handle those types of things. So I thought this would be a good thing, especially for my 10-year-old to read, because we haven't really touched on a lot of that kind of situation. And so I thought this would be something I'm going to have her read at the beginning of the year, and so that we can kind of start to discuss those types of things. And so that she's not afraid, realizing that other children have gone through this for the entire history of the world. So I thought this was a really cool book, and I was really excited to find it. I've never seen that. So when I was looking for the My America series at Barnes & Noble, they did show me these books, and I thought these were really cool. I've never seen them before. And it is Spy History. And so it's about spies that were during the Civil War, I think. Yeah, the Civil War. And so and in here they have like a little decoder and things, and so they can read through what was going on, and they can help decode the messages and different things. And so this is a really cool book. Again, if you have somebody who's into history, if you have somebody who's into like spy type novels, those types of things. So we picked that up. I'm actually going to probably tuck that one away for Christmas. So I waited to do this video till they were gone at a church event. And then I found this. This is America at War. And this one, they're all the Revolutionary War. So it talks about different aspects of the war. So this is naval warfare. And again, I handed these to my daughter, and she was so excited. And these were the war soldiers, important people during the Revolutionary War. So obviously there were a lot of, things going on outside of the actual battle. The home front. So again, what it was like for those who were kind of left behind and, who were around when they were coming through. And then the land battles. And these are, you can see these are fairly sized books. These are closer to a chapter size, so they're pretty large. These will go on our homeschool shelves, which is one of the reasons I want to get this done, because I wanted to start putting things away so that I can share an updated tour. But here's just a peek at the inside, since these ones are not chapter books. Lots of info, lots of nice pictures and maps. So we were really excited to add that series to our collection. Let's see. Yeah, and they're just, I don't know if you can see that, Americans at War. So if you guys are interested, and these are by the Heinemann Library. So sometimes I see books on here and I don't know where they're from, and then I'm trying to search randomly to find them. So, and then this is a book on the body. It doesn't show up too bad there. It has like that really optical illusion type front, and it kind of makes my eyes spacey, like that 3D. But I thought this was really cool. We're going to be doing, I had mentioned again on my previous curriculum videos that we're going to be doing some science unit studies. And so I thought this would be neat because we're going to be doing a unit study on the body. And it just goes by system. You can see, just give you a peek. But in here, okay, so here is the musculoskeleton system. And each page has different information. So I like the fact that it didn't seem super overwhelming. You could read a page at a time. Let's see, narrow. So that just gives you an idea. Like each spread is something different. So there's very good information in here. And it's not overwhelming. Sometimes some of the big books that have like all of the information, a lot of reference type books, just have a ton of information and it is overwhelming. So I really like the way that this was set up, and that we can just kind of read these, and we can pick some of the highlights, like with my little kids, like blood. You know, we can pick some things that are important to them. And that are more based on their level. And then there's some more in-depth things. There's things about like heredity and DNA. I can read this page, though, the digestive system to my littles. And my oldest daughter, if she wants to start reading about things like heredity and those types of things are in here too. So this is really nice. It's going to be a good book for us that I think that we're going to be able to grow with as my kids get older. If you have not followed me for a while, I have a 4, 6, 8, and 10-year-old. So my ages kind of span preschool to upper elementary school. And then I got this earthquake book, the other set. So we are going to do, I haven't decided if it's going to be beginning of the year and end of the year, if we're going to split it into 3 kind of like trimesters, but we're going to be doing like extreme weather. And then we're going to be doing the body. We may just do those 2, or we may throw a 3rd in and shorten those up a little bit and do bees at the end of the year. So, or space. Those are the 2 things we've been looking at. So, or we might just wait and do bees and space next year. I haven't decided. I know it's almost the school year. I should be decided, but I know what we're doing first. So that's all that matters. And that is going to be our extreme weather unit. And so one of the things we're going to be talking about is earthquakes. And so I thought this was a cute little book. It talks about what happens and what the land looks like going through the years. And but I thought this was neat. It was kind of set up in like a picture book format. And so sometimes it's just a lot of reference books. And for my younger students, that's a lot. Like they just don't quite get it. And so I thought that would be a neat book to throw in our morning basket and read. So I'm going to grab another stack. I'm telling you guys, it is so many books. There are so many books. And so some of these are for upcoming year, and some of these are just because they're cool books to have. You know, I don't know about you, but when you're a homeschooler, I feel like we just have a ton of homeschool books. So, so the next one is going to be Why Don't Haircuts Hurt? And I thought, again, this would be really neat to do our body unit. Another one that's kind of like not a picture book, but it's a book that's a little better for my younger students to be reading. So we will throw some of these books in our morning basket. And so it just goes through like what happens to your body when different things are going on. And yeah, I'm trying to see what that one was. How much food do we eat in a year? What makes you burp? Who snores? Why do you sneeze? And so we could read like one question and one answer a day while we're working on our body unit. Even if it doesn't correlate to the system we're going through, I just thought that that would be cute. So we picked that up. And then my son, who is not interested in reading like at all, but he is just starting into first grade and still struggling. He does like me to read him picture books, I will say that, but he just doesn't. He's an outdoors boy. He would rather be outside all the time. One of the things he is extremely interested in is building. And so we found this book and he really wanted it. So I was super excited. And it's How a House is Built. And it's by Scholastic. And it is a picture book that kind of takes you step by step on the different things on how you build a house. And so I thought that was an excellent book for him. So I would highly recommend this. I haven't even got to read it yet, but just flipping through it, it looked really neat. So we picked that up. And then we got this Learn How to Draw Ancient Times. So we are going to be doing a sneak peek, I haven't shared yet, our group subjects, but we are going to be doing the ancient times for history this year. And so I thought this would be cool just to kind of, you know, get in there and do some drawing. My middle daughter, my 8-year-old, really enjoys drawing. And this kind of takes you step by step in drawing some of these things. Now, she might not be able to draw all of the things, but I thought it was a good start. And I like how it starts with kind of like the very basics of the geometric figures. Sometimes I feel like they start like clear over here, like they want you on step 2 already. So, but it was neat. I've never seen that. It is by Walter Foster, if you're interested, in case you're doing an ancient history unit this year also. And then we got this, again, for the ancient history unit, and it's just by Scholastic. And this is more of like a reference book, but it is, it's large text, lots of pictures. So we're going to keep this out during our unit, more or less just like as a coffee table type of book or something that the kids can explore through. We may use this in our morning basket some for that also. And then this is what I was hoping to find, not particularly this book, but this brand of books. And this is the only one I found, but I found an Usborne book. $2 for an Usborne book. I'm sorry, that's just super exciting. You can find some of the paperback type books, but none of the really nice reference type books, or lift a flap books at our, like yard sales and those types of things. So this is the Lift a Flap Computers and Coding. And my husband and I have been discussing starting to try and work with some coding. I am not really technological, like seriously, filming and editing and putting up a YouTube video is the extent. I can do basic computer stuff, but I could never do anything like coding. It just wasn't my interest. My husband is, I shouldn't say is, was in IT. He doesn't currently work in it, but he did like doing these types of things. So I asked him if he thought that it would be important, of course, in our world, and he said yes. So I was super excited to find this coding. I had actually been looking at getting the beginner coding books from Usborne anyway, and so I will have this on hand for later because I'll probably pick those up at some point. So, but found this book for $2. Super excited. If you guys haven't seen an Usborne Lift a Flap, their flaps are like, well, and it's like brand new. Look, you can't even like pull the flaps up. They're really sturdy. Like they don't rip easily. They're heavier. I don't know. Okay guys, sorry, my phone stopped recording and I came to find out that it's because I ran out of space because my 6 and my 8-year-old have been making their own mock YouTube videos on my phone. So I had to go in and delete a bunch of some really cute stuff actually. So, but I pulled everything else out so that I can show you guys, and let's just get moving on. So the next thing I got were these, let's see, If You books. I don't know if you've seen these, but most of you have probably seen these before. And it's if you lived during this time period, or if you lived when this was going on. So this is if you traveled west in a covered wagon. I'll just show you the inside of this one to give you an idea what they're like. Some of these books, guys, they're like brand new. I swear people don't even read them. Like the binding on this is so stiff. So we are not doing colonial times this year. As I mentioned, we're doing the ancient times, but then I'll have these put away for when we do come to that time period. And if you lived at the time of the Civil War, these are slightly different, but they're the same concept. If you grew up with Abraham Lincoln, these are all by Scholastic. If you lived with the Sioux Indians, and if you lived with the Iroquois. So I thought those were neat. I really like those books. I know we went to Williamsburg last year at the beginning of our school year, and we found, I don't know what it was, if you lived during the Revolutionary War or something like that, we came home with. And my daughter was really excited about it and really liked it. So I was super excited to pick that up when we found them. The next thing I got was The Scrambled States of America, and this book goes with the game, which I am actually going to probably order, but I saw this and I thought it was really cute, just something for my kiddos to have, and it is like a picture book. And so we got that. Oh, this is still in here. I pulled out a couple things because they were like presents and things that I was sticking away, but this is in here because it was, my daughter asked for this. So as I mentioned, my 8-year-old likes to draw, and it just has step-by-step drawing. So it's a nice big binder full of all kinds of things. I didn't realize it was still in here, but that's what that is. And the next thing I got was this cool Magic Eye book. So if you are older, like me, you probably remember these, and where you would like look at the picture. I'm not going to do it on camera, so if anybody gets messed up by that, but you look at the picture and you find an image. It like comes out at you, I guess. It's like a 3D, what is that called? A 3D illusion. So we found one of these. My kids had never seen these, and it just never, I don't know, it never struck me that they had never seen one. I grew up seeing them all the time. So my daughter thought this was really neat, so we picked it up as well. Sorry, hear me kind of like making a pile on the floor over here. Who lived in the castles? So this will probably go with next year's history, because we're doing like a chronological history, and so right now we're in ancient times, and next year we'll go kind of into like the medieval times. So I picked this up to have. And then my son, who doesn't show like, I guess I don't want to say he doesn't show a lot of interest in different things, but besides building, like he hasn't shown a lot of particular interest yet, picked this up, and he just thought it was so cool. And it's weapons of war, and it goes from all kinds of things like spears and bows and crossbows, and to things like early guns. And so we picked this up. I don't know, I have to read the content if I'll allow him to read it quite yet, but I was thinking there may be some things in here about ancient times, at least, that would be appropriate, and then into the medieval times that we could use. So we picked this up, and it was very neat. Yes, it's also a Scholastic book, so that. And then I just love these DK books, but we picked up the skeleton because we are doing the body unit. And then this book was actually in my Amazon cart. I wanted to get this for my daughter. She really enjoys looking at these kinds of books. And so I picked up, I was really excited to find it there because it was so much cheaper, Children Just Like Me. And this talks about children around the world, and what it would be like to live where they live. And so each spread has a different location on it, or a different child who lives somewhere else. Oh, here it has, like, some of them have two different kids, and it talks about what life is like for them. So I was really excited to find this, and right beside this book was the Children Just Like Me celebrations. And so this is about how they celebrate different things around the world. And so I thought she would really enjoy that. So we picked each of these up, really nice hardback like reference books for $2 a piece. So I was really excited about those. And see, I went crazy. If I would have had more time there, I'd have, my husband may have disowned me. But my husband found these books, and I was super, super excited about them. I think I hear somebody on the stairs. They're not supposed to know about these. But, so I'm just going to show them. But if you guys haven't seen these, you guys should definitely check them out. I'll show you the inside of this one. So I think there's only one missing from the set. Like I think there's 5 of these. And these are all obviously just made up girls, but it is about the time period that they live in. So it's not the little chapter books that you read, which my girls really enjoy. So I got these. There's all the ones I showed you, and then Molly. So there is a 5th one. It shows it on the back. So they went upstairs to play. And then there's this book, The Industrial Revolution for Kids. And again, this is the kind of stuff that my 10-year-old just gobbles up. She could sit and read this stuff all day. So this one does have a lot of text in it. Does have pictures, but not nearly as many, not as colorful. And this does, I didn't notice this until right now as I'm sharing you, but it does say with 21 activities. So apparently there are some kind of activities that go along with the sections in here. Oh yeah, here's an activity page. Design a product for the World's Fair. And it gives you all the materials you'll need and the different ideas. It even gives you some like Google places or Google patents to look at because you're designing something. That's the only one I see like right offhand just flipping through, but let's see, what is this? About gruel. So this is about making meals for an orphanage. And so there's some hands-on activities, some activities that get you to really think. So that's a really neat aspect of this book that I didn't even realize when I purchased it at first. But if you are doing a unit study or it's within your history to work on in the Industrial Revolution time period this year, this could be a very good addition. So I don't see an author. Oh, there you go. There's the author. I'm not going to. But so there's that one. And then we got the Civil War for Kids. So same concept. This one likewise has activities, 21 history activities. So if you are working during the Civil War this year, this one, yep, colors, black and white, lots of tests, same thing. So, but there's activities. This one is woodcut prints. The sketches reporters drew from battlefields were copied onto blocks of wood by engravers. The blocks were used to print line drawings for the newspaper, like the Harper's Weekly, which didn't print photographs at this time. So you're to make blocks and make like your own newspaper type article. So just something cool. Hands-on activities that you can opt to do or not to do. And then the American Revolution for Kids. So again, same type of thing. Photos, lots of text. These are all by the Chicago Review Press, and so they all have the same concept, all 21 activities included. So these are going to be really good as we go throughout our history, just, you know, in years to come. So we aren't doing any of those this year, but they are something that we could do. Another Osborne book. I forgot I did find this Osborne book. I said earlier only one, but I did find this one, and it's Who Were the Romans? And again, with working on more ancient civilizations this year, I thought this would be cool just to read through. And you can see there's a glimpse of the inside. So this is something we might read chunks out of when we're going through Roman history when that time period comes. So, or my daughter just might pull it off the shelf continually and read it because that's what she likes to do. So, and this one is the Lives of the Artists, which I thought would be really neat. This year we are doing something different for art already. But I thought in the future that this might be something neat, or we might incorporate it this year. And it just has the different artists, and it has a portrait, maybe a portrait or a painting by them. I'm not sure because I don't know this particular artist. And then it has some text about them. And so it's fairly brief text. So her page begins on, her text begins on 47 and ends on 49. So it's just the 2 pages I just showed you in this. And then it goes to another portrait and another, so I do believe these are, they are just like illustrations of the artists themselves, not their work. But it does have a section here that shows what their artwork was. So that's really cool. So I picked that up. I don't know, we're not huge art fans, but I do like having knowledge of the different, painters and paintings and all of those types of things from history. And then we got this very neat William Shakespeare book. And here it gives see the inside. And it's scenes from the life of the world's greatest writer. So this is a really neat book. It is by Mick Manning and Britta Gronstrom. I think that's how you say that. So we picked that up. And then again, to go with our ancient civilizations, it had ancient construction, which I thought would be really cool. My kids are kind of fascinated by construction, mostly because we live in constant construction. If you haven't followed me for a while, we have done major renovations to our home over the past 8 years, including an 1,100-foot second-story addition. So we have done like a lot of construction. They've all grown up in construction. My oldest was only 2 when we started it. So they really are intrigued by things of construction. And so I thought this would be neat. It has very colorful pictures. It's not all black and white. And that's the beginning, I guess. So it does go by chapter, and it covers ancient Middle East, ancient Egypt, ancient India, ancient China, ancient Americas. I've never heard of it really referred to, I guess, as the ancient Americas, but that would make sense. Ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and then after the ancients. So I thought this would be a cool book, again, to throw in with our history curriculum coming up. I like to just have some extra books to pull for them and share some things with the kids just to make it a little more interesting. And then before we get into more or less the chapter books, again, I have a Scholastic Encyclopedia of the United States at War. So my daughter, again, who is a big history buff, really enjoys learning about the basics of the wars and the different things. And so we picked this up, and it has all kinds of information about all of the wars. She really enjoys things like the Revolutionary War and the Civil War, learning about those things. Things that are a little more real and a little more closer to our time, like World War II, she enjoys, but obviously because it's a little close, like people she knows were involved in that or were living during that time, it has a little more of an effect on her, I think, where the things like Civil War were pretty far off from her. So, and then, this is on top of that, we got Shel Silverstein. So this is Where the Sidewalk Ends. We already have, I think it's A Light in the Attic, and we read that one a lot last year for poetry. We are not I don't know. I don't love doing poetry. I was a high honor student in school, and I took like all of the extra electives that I could that had to do with writing, like creative writing and journalism and all those types of things. But I hated poetry. I hated poetry. I hated reading it. I hated interpreting it. I know that's awful. And so we've done some like fun poetry, and a lot of it's been by him. So this is a book that we didn't have this year yet, so we picked it up to add. And we may use that this year, or we may just tuck it away to use next year. I just throw one of them usually in our morning basket to kind of go through. So, and then this has the dictionary of idioms and phrases. And so this I thought was really neat. Here's the front of it. I'm sorry. And then on the inside, it has things like different idioms, you'd say. So things like add fuel to the fire. And it tells you the meaning, and then it tells you the origin of how it came to, kind of how it came to be. And so I thought that was a really neat little book. And so I haven't decided yet if we're going to add this to our morning basket, or if it's just going to be something that we kind of hang on to and maybe use in the future, or that I will let my older kids to kind of go through it weekly, maybe just pick one out and read it or something. I don't know. I have not decided what I'm doing with this, but I thought it was a very cool book, and so we picked that up. And then again, if you're older like me, you probably remember these. And so we've been collecting some of the Babysitters Club. More recently, I found some at a yard sale, like a large lot of them, and so we just pick kind of the extras up when we find them. Note, one of the things I usually do, and I'll be honest, I didn't do before I went to this because our plans got a little like messed up, but I will take pictures of my kids' bookshelf and keep them in my phone, and that way I know when I have like a series what numbers we have and don't have, and it kind of helps me from rebuying the same ones when I'm at something like a yard sale or a sale like that. So just a side note. And then we found this. I don't know that it's an Usborne book. I don't see Usborne on it anywhere, but it is by Kane Miller, which is one of the publishers for Usborne. So, but it's just an all-star cheerleader book. I told my daughter if she tried this one and she liked it, then we'd look at getting more. This is literally the very first book we found when we went in there, and they were afraid they weren't going to find anything. But I know that they like a lot of the Usborne stuff, so we picked this up, and we'll see how that goes. That was for my 8-year-old who doesn't, my 10-year-old will read. I have to tell her to go to bed. Like, turn the lights out, you must go to bed. But my 8-year-old, she doesn't read as much. She likes to do workbooks. So when she picked that out, I'm going to go ahead and add that probably into her reading for the school year. And then this was The Real Princess Diaries. And so I don't know if you've seen that movie, Princess Diaries, but this was about all of the real princesses. And my 10-year-old just loves, she just eats up any kind of history, anything. And so she saw this and she wanted it immediately. It was one of the only things she actually asked for on her own when she was just kind of trying to flip through on her own because there was a lot there. It was pretty overwhelming. So we picked this up for her. And we also picked this up, which is another thing that I may add to her own reading, and it's Anne of Green Gables. This is, I do believe this is an abridged version. The Great Classics for Children. That's pretty upside down for you guys, sorry. It's a little better. It's having a hard time focusing. But we read and I mean, it's not super thick, but we read a very thin, abridged version of this last year. I was just reading some of the slim, abridged versions that I found at Costco to all of my kids during circle time, and my daughter really loved this, so I thought that we would up the ante this year and she would try this book. And then on to some of the chapter books. And so we got Esperanza's Rising. And so a lot of these books I hadn't heard of too long ago, but somebody had this on their reading list for their kiddo this year. And so when I saw it, I decided that I would pick it up. Esperanza believed her life would be wonderful forever. She would always live with her family at a ranch in Mexico. She would always have a fancy dress and beautiful home filled with servants. Papa and Abuelita would always be with her, but suddenly a tragedy shatters her world and forces Esperanza and her mama to flee to California, where they settle in a camp for Mexican farm workers. So I thought this would be a really good story for my fifth grader. I don't know if I will add this to her reading list for this year or if she'll do it for next summer or possibly even sixth grade, but this is something I definitely wanted to add to our library after seeing it. And I wish I could remember the mama who put it up. It may have been A Simple Rugged Path, but it may not have been. I watch a lot of you homeschool mamas out there, so... and then I found this. It was Heartland. I really enjoy the Netflix series on this. I didn't even know it was a book. That sounds terrible as a homeschool mom. I should know that, but I had never even heard of this book. So when I saw this, I thought it would be a really good book for her to read, and then perhaps in the not too distant future, because she is getting to that tween age, this might be a good series for her to watch. There's just a couple things in there that I would prefer for her not to see, but for the most part, it's a very good, decent show. So I picked this up. And then I picked up The Hidden Girl, a true story of the Holocaust. Now, this is one I will probably read before I allow her to read, or I will keep it on the shelf for another year or so. She had difficulty reading not the Diary of Anne Frank, because we didn't go that far yet, but the Who Was Anne Frank book. And so she reads all of those other war-type books, but like I said, when it deals with a particular child, she has seems to have a little bit of trouble with the World War II. So we may just go ahead and set this aside for now, but I definitely wanted to add it to my library. This is George Washington's Socks, a time travel adventure. And so I thought, again, that would be neat to have for my oldest. I haven't confirmed their reading list for this year. And so again, another reason I wanted to get through this box and share with you guys was kind of so I could sort through them and decide if I was adding any of this to their independent reading. So, and then I just wanted to add a couple classics that I don't have in my library yet. Things that I wanted to get in there, but I've been slowly waiting to find them at a discount. I didn't want to go and buy them full price for sure, and I would have preferred not to pay, $5 to $10 a piece. So I've just kind of been looking for them at like yard sales, or then I found a few of them here. So one of them is A Wrinkle in Time. And then we got Caddy Woodlawn. And then we got two of these. The Little House in the Big Woods, and I may very well add this as one of our read alouds this year. And we got The Little Town on the Prairie. So I do have a couple of these, and I've slowly just been collecting them as I found them cheaply. Most of them were probably 50 cents. Those ones were probably the ones I spent the most on at $2 a piece. So I did pick those up. And then just a couple more here, almost to the tail end, guys. Thank you guys if you have stuck with me so far. So this is The Slave Dancer, and it's snatched from the docks of New Orleans. A 13-year-old Jesse is thrown aboard a slave ship where he must play his fife so that the captives will dance to keep their muscles strong and their bodies profitable. Jesse is sickened by the horrible practices of the slave trade, but that is nothing compared to the final horror that Jesse will witness. Can the cruelty be stopped before it's too late? And so I picked this one up. Oh, sorry. I guess it's glaring. So we're going to give that a try for the year. That one probably, again, will go on my fifth graders list for the year. And then this was Pharaohs of Ancient Egypt, and it is set up like a chapter book, but it is, appears to be, I believe, nonfiction. So, let me see if I can find a picture. It does, like, the illustrations are definitely photographs, not drawn. It's not an illustration. So you can tell it's definitely based on actual history. And so again, I thought this would be something cool just to have, whether we reference it or we read it straight through in our circle time. I wasn't sure, but I wanted to add that in. We do plan to go kind of through chronological history more than once. So even if we don't use all of these resources now, we will hopefully use them in the future when we come back around to ancient history. And then my youngest, who is 4, will be a little bit older and able to grasp these concepts as well. So, or we may just make something like this dedicated reading for some of them. So, and then I just grabbed 2 of these little readers. I don't usually spend this much on readers, but they just happened to be, and these were $1 each. So if you notice right here, it has $1. A few of these were actually, but both of these were. If they were marked less than $2, then they cost less than $2 there. So if they were on their clearance shelf for less already, then you still got the extra discount there. So, this one was about fires and floods. Again, we're doing you hear my daughter singing. That's my 4-year-old. I'm sorry. We are doing more of like the extreme weather unit, and so I thought that this would be good. So this is more about basic storms, but I do have some younger kiddos, a 4 and a 6-year-old, so I have some kids who are kind of still afraid of thunder and lightning sometimes, and so I thought this would be a good addition for that, for the extra $1. So these will be great to throw in when we're doing our science unit study on that. So if you guys stuck it out with me, thank you, because I know this is a really long video. I was going to try and split it up, and then I realized I had some chapter books at the beginning and some chapter books at the end. Kind of chaos. And I'm going to be having an Usborne book haul to film very soon. So I wanted to go ahead and start getting some of this homeschool stuff out to you guys, because I know everybody's homeschool year is getting started in the near future if you haven't already started it already. So thank you guys so much for joining me. If you guys are new here, please click that subscribe button down below, and we'll see you guys all next time. Bye.